Hey Danchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and welcome to my review of the 6th studio EP by the Norwegian electronic duo Lemaitre. This one's called 1749. If you're like a lot of people in the EDM scene like me, you may have found out about Lemaitre from their feature with Porter Robinson on his World's album Polygon Dust, which was probably one of the highlights from the record. That album is when they really got on my radar, and from there I checked out their original music, not most of their first few EPs, but typically their more recent stuff, and in my opinion I think they've been getting better and better with time. With the release of their Singularity EP, I thought there were a lot of really solid tracks on there. I really liked the sound that they were developing, and honestly I have, since that EP came out, been strongly waiting for a Lemaitre album, and so far it hasn't come. With this release of the EP though, I did raise my expectations quite a bit, and I wasn't really too disappointed overall. Tying back into the Singularity EP, the first track on this, Not Too Late, seems to me to be kind of a transition track between the Singularity EP and the sound that they're trying to go into this EP, kind of taking the sound that started there, having fans kind of adjust and say, okay, this is Lemaitre, this is their sound, this is where we went with the last EP. Not necessarily sounding like Wait or maybe even a couple other tracks on it, but definitely does draw comparisons to the Singularity EP. Then leads into Stepping Stone, which is the most recent single featuring Mark Johns, who's definitely a talent and is featured with the Glitch Mob on their EP last year that I did review. And like I said, with Not Too Late kind of serving as the transition track between their old material and their new material, with Stepping Stone they start to delve into a bit of a heavier sound, and we start seeing more and more just hard-hitting heavy material. They're starting to sound more and more like a bass duo, that they're getting more heavily into electronic music and stepping kind of away from the indie scene. Although I did enjoy that in some of their past material, I think they're going to find a lot more appeal, and I'm definitely enjoying this as well. Maybe not quite as much as the Singularity EP, because I found that one pretty much nearly flawless. Closer, featuring Jenny A, was the single that released that last year, which was in fact the one that got me hyped and hoping for an album from Lemaitre. I thought, okay, this is the single, this is going to lead us to the album. It didn't, but regardless, this one does find a good place in this EP. Very heavy hitting, and one of the coolest things about this is you've got their typical hard bass that you hear in the background, and then we've got this sweet trombone slide also happening in the background, kind of cut up in some spots. Definitely one of my favorites on the EP. The vocals aren't doing a lot for me, but I think the concept around this one, I don't typically hear trombones a lot in dance music, so hearing this and the kind of combination that worked well, and everything just kind of fits really well together, especially with the piano lines in this one too. Just a really awesome and fun track. Day 2 for me is sounding a lot like Madian, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. It's not going to place as one of my favorites on this EP, but I do think in the vocal style and the production style on this one, maybe a little bit brighter sounding and closer. You obviously get that Lemaitre sound. The closer on this one, Nishio 2 featuring Giraffage, also isn't really doing a lot for me, even less so than Day 2, but honestly this one is definitely different sounding for the duo. This one does have some interesting aspects, but honestly I don't think it really works as a Lemaitre track. There are some unique points. I like some of the cuts. The vocal chops aren't really doing a lot for me either. I like the kind of indie vocals that are featured on this. Other than that, this is kind of just a kick kind of progress track the entire way. It's not really building up to much, and honestly I think although it is a closing type of track, I think they could have done something a little better with this. So I really did like this EP. I think it's got a lot of awesome points. They do tend to sometimes stick to an old style and kind of take some other spots, but I think on a few tracks where they went with this, they're really going in a solid direction, and I'd love to see where they can go with the debut album. I'm going to give the 1749 EP a solid 7. Make sure to check out the EP for yourself if you haven't. I know there's been someone in the comments, forgive me if I forgot your name, but just over and over telling me to review this EP, and I've been meaning to, and I'm excited to finally push this out to you guys and give you my thoughts, because this one's really good, and I can't wait to see what the future is for this duo. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. I'll make sure to read them, go through any albums that you might have interested, new albums especially, because that's really what I like to focus on, and I'll catch you guys this Thursday. Peace.